You all, good morning. We'll call this, call this meeting to order. Thank you all so very much for coming today. I would again like to welcome you all. This is the ad hoc committee. We'll talk a little bit about the charge of the committee in a moment. We'll do a roll call. Terrence Vincent, I'm here. Ms. Dottie Bell, Board Member Dottie Bell. Board Member Barry Rochelle. Here. Board Member Steve Umley. Here. Dr. Gail Flowers.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, no.
Yes, ma'am. All right. All.
And for the record, is this your committee?
Yes,
As
ma'am.
far as the board members are concerned, we'll establish that.
If you all would, Mr. Rochelle, can you give us a prayer?
Oh, I'd be happy to. We'll stand. Dear Lord God, our Father, we thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. Father, you have called us, which makes us children of God. And we're just so grateful, Father, that you've given us that much grace, Father, that we can go into the world and be a light to share your love, joy, grace, peace, Father, that it just overflows everywhere we go. Father, we ask right now, as your word says, we're asking right now, Father, for wisdom and revelation as we make decisions for Caddo Parish School Board that has not just an impact just on our students and staff, but Father, it has an impact for generations. And Father, we take that seriously, and we just thank you for giving us that opportunity. And be with us in all that we say and do this morning. It's in Jesus' name we pray. And they all said, amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Okay, the flag's up in the front right there. And there we go. I'll wait till everybody stands. There we go. Thank you so much. So I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tell you, that's very encouraging. We get to watch ourselves do that. We look good. We did. We look good.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I did miss this point. I think we need to also raise our hands, Ms. Piper, it's so the board members, we need to raise our hand and that we're present. I missed that point because state law, I'm sure you all heard about this, so.
And I'll call them. Dr. Benson,
Here.
raise your hand. Ms. Bell, Ms. Yates.
I'm here. I'm not on the.
You're not on the committee. Okay. Mr. Umling.
Here.
Are you on the committee?
I am.
Mr. Rochelle,
Here.
are you on the committee?
I am.
Okay. Ms. Bell, you are on the committee.
I'm going to ask for just a point of clarification is who are the committee members? Because I don't have it in front of me and I have no idea.
I don't know.
Yes, sir. That's the next item.
The school board members that are on the
Oh,
committee.
yes, sir. Us for what I say us for is everybody excluding the Yates.
Okay. Thank you.
And is Dr. Dozart.
Not on the committee.
Yeah, myself, Ms. Bell, you, and Mr. Arnold. Okay, at this time, you all, we're on item 2.01.
We need to make clear, this is an ad hoc committee that other people have been invited. And if they are considered members of the committee, you need that in order to establish a quorum. So you need to, if anyone has said they're on the committee, you need to make certain that we have their names introduced so that you know who all is on it that way. Because you ask people outside to actually be a part of the committee.
So that would be Ms. Flowers.
We're getting to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Abrams. The next item is to establish the membership. At this time, we will establish the membership of the Contract Procurement and Opportunity Caddo Ad Hoc Committee. This committee will include both board members and community representatives. I would like to confirm the board members who will serve, which we have done, in addition to recognizing the community members who have been invited to participate. The committee members' names will be recorded in the minutes.
Switch rooms. Everything I knew.
So far, we have, established the persons on the school board who are serving on the committee. And at this time, we will, recognize or call the community members' names who are serving. Dr. Gail Flowers.
Here.
Attorney Brandon Brown.
Present.
You all please raise your hand because state law is this thing we are having to do now. Dr. Marquis Pierre. Even if they're not present, you want me to call them?
Yeah, because we all need to know who they are.
Okay, no problem. Dr. Theron Jackson. He's en route.
If they're on here, go ahead and list their names.
If they've agreed and said they're going to be on the committee, go ahead and list their names, but not present.
Dr. Theron Jackson. Okay. Mr. David Aubrey. Ms. Brittany Dunn.
That's the record. I'm going to call out those names again. Our community representatives that will serve on the ad hoc committee will be Dr. Gail Flowers, Attorney Brandon Brown, Dr. Marquis Pierre. Not present, but serving on the committee will be Dr. Theron Jackson, Mr. David Aubrey, and Miss Brittany Dunn.
Oh, and did I say Dr. Tim Magner? I'm sorry, Dr. Tim Magner.
We'll add Dr. Tim Magner to the list of community members serving on this committee. Okay.
Okay, you all will move to item 2.02 is the overview of the committee. President Lord have mercy. President Green asked me to pretty much serve on this as chairman of this committee to review our contracts, procurement, and our opportunity Caddo program. Basically to see can we retain or keep some of the money in Caddo as best we can. We understand that there's bid laws and things like that, but ultimately the charge of what we're here to do is to look at our program to see that we help the citizens keep more of our tax dollars right here in Caddo. And so that's really the skinny of it, because as we look at some things, we've seen some bids and things like that, and they're going outside of the state. And so we're looking, and this, again, you all, that's why it's a committee. I'm gonna talk and then move out of your way. But ultimately, what's happening is our goal is to attempt to keep money in Caddo first, the state of Louisiana, and then obviously we have to move out to get the work done. The committee will meet as needed and will report its findings as following to the executive committee work during the executive committee work session and update portion of the agenda. Today's overview is intended to establish the purpose, scope, and
Speak up
expectations.
just a little, you sound low, but
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Today's overview is intended to establish the purpose, scope, and expectations for the committee moving forward. And so does everybody understand what we're here to do? Any questions? So, with that said, went right into the Q&A. All right, at this time, I will open the floor for any questions for committee members or community participants regarding the information presented today. Please state your name before speaking, and I will recognize you in turn. Your questions will be answered as clearly and thoroughly as possible. Yes, sir. Mr. Darrell Rochelle.
Thank you. Where did Mr. Abrams go? Mr. Abrams, just very quickly so that we know the foundation that we're working from. What does state law, when it comes to, and I know that we have different type bids, okay? What are the state law guidelines? And I know that's a very broad question.
Very broad.
Okay, I understand that, but if you could give us kind of a simple form, and then possibly if we could get something more in-depth as a handout that we would be able to review at a later time and everybody have available, so we all know where we're working from.
We also have staff available who can answer specific
Okay.
questions as needed.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Basically, you have to bid items that are for procurement, only certain that are not necessarily is just goods, but not services, actually. And the construction, all of those type projects also have to be bid. Okay. Opportunity Caddo is really should be the basis from where you're starting as far as what Caddo is doing in order to make certain that we're complying with the actual state law. There were years ago, there were set aside provisions that were actually in the state statute, all were declared unconstitutional. And so those, you can't have set asides for any particular groups. Opportunity Caddo actually meets all the requirements for that we have in place. Opportunity Caddo, though, I don't know if anyone is really operating Opportunity Caddo at this time as administrator. But that particular program was designed similar to what the city has and what Caddo Parish has. And that one, what it does is it actually says that we have items that do not have to be bid, okay? And we have items that must be bid. Items that must be bid, basically we have procedures that are supposed to be in place so that you can actually make certain that when they're put out for bid, within that, there are requirements that you solicit people that are economically disadvantaged businesses, and which would be some local businesses that would be within we have a particular, I don't know, we have, Mr. White is here. We actually have we should have the list of all the economically disadvantaged businesses that are listed that qualify. And the policy itself determines and I was about to pull the policy up, determines what is actually economically disadvantaged businesses. The other part of it was that we would actually use, because there are a lot of purchases that are done by the schools that does not have to be bid, that you can do certain things that are within a certain dollar amount that are not actually bid. You may get 3 quotes in order to do certain things. And so what we had was, and when we deal with the ones that are actually the construction type bids, what happened was that we would require that they solicit that within the bid documents, people within the particular groups to be subs. And within that, they're supposed to go in and solicit subs and agree that they have solicited subs. And if they don't solicit subs, they become non-responsive, okay? So they're non-responsive, that bid can be thrown out. That was the way, and what happens is if they solicit and someone is not selected, then you had someone that would actually operate. The program could determine with the contractor why was the reason they didn't solicit some. A lot of times it's because the contractors did not apply, or their bid was too high. But if you had somebody administrating that, they could go back and determine Joe Blow may have been an economically disadvantaged business, and they actually bid too high and explain to them why it was too high and why they didn't get the particular bid, the local contract. Okay. But if, we also be able to see if they were not using someone, because they did make a low bid and they're just using people that they're comfortable with, somebody, or they don't believe that this particular contractor had the qualifications in order to do whatever it was, you should be able to have documentation to show that type of information so that you can follow up to see if the contractor's just ignoring what they're supposed to be doing. And that way you can see that, that the program was working in order to use your local vendors, okay? Now, when you deal with the actual bid law, you have to follow the bid law. And I know we talked about that during the last board meeting where we had an issue with buying certain things when someone was outside of the area and they were actually lower. And I made the comment that you had to either accept the bid or reject the bid depending on certain criteria, but you have to have good cause in order to do that. You can't just go out and select anybody you want to select just because you like that particular person, whatever. We certainly would be within the lawsuit. But we have a policy that's in place already where there are certain items that don't have to be bid because they fall below that amount, which means that if you had somebody looking to purchase certain things, and I know Ms. White has used people that doing certain things, but I don't know what's going on at the schools anymore. We used to have a person administrator that would make reports back to the board as to what was going on. And I don't remember when that was eliminated. The last policy I saw the revision was done in 2019 that I looked at. But basically, in a nutshell, we have to follow public bid laws if they're applicable. You know, there are rules that you can disqualify companies that don't meet the requirements, but you have to be very specific about it. And their disqualification rules are very stringent. You know, disqualify the company, and you have to go through a process to disqualify someone. Otherwise, they would have to get the bid. Now, if they don't meet the criteria for the actual whatever project they're doing, if the goods that they're supposed to be supplying does not meet the guidelines, of course, you can throw that out. You don't have to use that person or that company.
Two quick questions, Attorney Abrams, and then maybe the questions will flood in. One with the bid law and connecting it to not just opportunity cattle and bid law in general.
Mm-hmm.
Can we give a point system?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
Can I just follow up?
Yes,
I think because what I understand, and if I missed the point of this, then I apologize, is we're looking for what we can possibly do for local growth and development locally. This is not a economically disadvantaged thing that you're, this is, how do we keep dollars local? Would that be correct?
A little bit of both, it's both.
Okay, all right, so, the, I'm not,
If you put it out for bid, it's going out for bid.
okay, I can understand, economically disadvantaged is gonna be handled by Opportunity Caddo, correct? That's where,
That's a program. It is not, that gives an opportunity for you to be able to use local people that meet the qualifications.
okay, so they don't even have to be, they have to be local
No,
in the opportunity, okay, so it's not just local,
no,
okay?
it's all,
It's just economically disadvantaged, so really Opportunity Caddo deals with economically disadvantaged vendors.
that's the key as to how you can do things for smaller companies and companies that don't have a whole lot of assets and things like that.
Okay,
All right.
hang on, you're going a different direction, okay? I'm looking at this is from the economic multiplier that is generated with money spent locally. That's how I'm looking at it, just from an economic point of view. Dollars spent locally, okay? And some of these are just broad ranges.
That money would come from outside in.
No. Hey, let me finish my point, okay? I apologize. If this is supposed to be questions, I'm afraid if I don't put some things out there to have something, a foundation to work from, is when a local government spends money, $1 million, $100,000, doesn't really make any difference what the amount is. There's an economic multiplier Okay, and it's very broad, depending on whether or not it's on products or services or whatever else. It changes on how it goes down, okay? And the range, and hang on, this is range that's been given to me, okay? Is that may range.
You're outside of my realm of expertise too, I'm gonna tell you that.
Okay, well, then this will just be a basis, and we have plenty of universities that have economic professors that would probably gladly give us a even more specific, but is that the multiplier, when we spend dollars locally and it continues to turn over, that range may be anywhere from maybe 1.5%, maybe all the way up to 3, or a multiplier of 1.5 to a multiplier of 3. So that if $1 million is spent, Caddo Parish School Board money spent locally, then it actually has a turnover and an impact of about anywhere, whatever that multiplier may have to be, depending on what the services or product it is. So it could be 1.5 million up to possibly $3 million. That turnover generates sales tax revenue. It comes back to us. I mean, that's how I'm viewing this ad hoc committee is when we pick somebody and they do that, regardless of anything that goes on, they have to be qualified, done, okay? It is how can we keep the money local? Because then we also reap the benefit of the money turning over here and generating more revenue back to the school board. Now, hang on, that's how I'm viewing this, okay? I'm gonna leave that, and here goes one more question, and I'm gonna get out of the way. Do we provide anything, and this may be more specifically to just construction than anything? Do we provide, when we put this out, is there a form that these GCs or general contractors use and go, I'm sending, and here it is, I'm sending this out to all of these subs. I'm soliciting all of these subs. They can choose to bid or not bid, or submit, well, I say bid, but anyway, submit their bid. And so that when a GC submits their bid, that they go, here's the form for this one, this one, this one, this one. So that it shows, are we providing them something to work from, or are we just saying, just do it?
Way outside of my area.
Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna, hang on. It looks like Mr. White may have an answer.
We're all providing that.
Okay, that would be great for us to all have a copy, because I believe some of this, as we go. I'd kind of like to see.
I was just asked also about seeing a copy of the opportunity Caddo policy, and I just.
Yeah.
All of it. Get that.
Dr. Pierre and then Board Member Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to ask for a copy of the policy so we could all have it, first of all. Secondly, I'd like to take it from a different perspective. If you could also, if staff could provide any concerns that have been expressed from local contractors, what the challenges have been for their participation within Opportunity Caddo, whether it's insurance, bonding requirements, capacity, whether the contracts are too large, could they have been broken down, the number of bidders, whether it's access, as he said, to subcontractors, to supplies. We could have that information. I think that would be a good basis to build off of as we look to try to talk about policies that would enhance the program. We need to address some of the concerns that have been expressed, but we need to know what those are as well. I'm getting it right there.
That is good. Board Member Bell. Okay, and then, Dr. Jackson.
What I was going to say is that, and I've been on this board 19 years, and we've had a lot of these things done, but we do have people hired. Purchasing, young lady, and Mr. White. And I would like for them to say to you how we do contracts, how we do all of these that we're looking at. And we say Opportunity Caddo, and I'm sure the young lady came in on that, and also Mr. And I was here when they started establishing, when we started, because we did have questions, a lot of concern with the community, a lot of concern with minority contractors and all. And I feel that, if we will ask them, and like you said, I agree with you, give us the thing and let them show us how they've been following these different things that they do. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That they had to follow some guidelines that, they had to follow guidelines that Caddo Parish put out in the state. So I feel that we need to hear from them. And like you asked Mr. Our attorney, like he said, he can say so much. But if the young lady and Mrs. Wait, I know your name.
Scott.
Ms. Scott, thank you. And Mr. White, we need to start to find out how they've been handling these contracts and all of this. And then you go from there and get the rule and see if what we need and the concern that they have. And we've had concerns all these years, and I'm not saying this, that we've had concerns about minority contractors and all of that, because they come to the board members. And I've had to deal with that. So I think that we need to do that too, Mr. Chairman. Okay?
Good counsel told me, just said, Ms. Scott, if you want to chime in, you can at any time, Mr. White or any staff. Yeah.
Well, I would like to chime in specifically about Opportunity Caddo in the policy. The policy is actually based on the state of Louisiana's Louisiana Economic Development for the small businesses. It's exactly like their policy. They have to have certification from the Louisiana Department of Economic Development that certifies them as a small business or a disadvantaged business. Once they provide that certification, then we can actually include them in the Opportunity Caddo database. There are certain personal asset as well as business asset requirements that these businesses must meet. And it is only for Louisiana businesses. It is not for out-of-state businesses. So it does have to be a Louisiana business.
Dr. Jackson, I don't want to cut in. Okay. Okay. Good. You all, I think it's great discussion. Again, I want to kind of hone in on one thing at a time as far as our bid process. Mr. Abrams, and I'm looking at you and all of us because we're a team. Can we, I'm asking the same question, can we give points, say for an example, a person being, a company being local?
No, not for bids.
That would be only for the RFP.
RFPs are rated, yes, and you
Okay.
can, or when you do award, there's a point system with the rating. So there's a possibility that you can include that or incorporate that into the RFP rating requirements. It's a very small percentage. It's not going to be anything that's going to substantially change how the RFP is rated.
Okay. Final thing I want to just throw out, because that's what people have been talking about a little bit. It was that piece in addition to what is the advantage, and this is the question for us all. What is the advantage of being on Opportunity Caddo, if that makes sense? Do you all follow that question? You know, what, if I go through the process, what gives me the advantage of being on the program?
Honestly, from my personal opinion, there really is no advantage other than if there is something that we do not have to bid. There may be schools or a department that can say, well, hey, we need to order this, or we know a vendor that supplies this. If it's something that's below the bid threshold, then that's the only advantage. They will be able to go to the OCP database and select a vendor that possibly provides those materials or supplies or the service. But if it has to be bid, then there really is no advantage because it has to go through that process.
And
If it was not bid, the issues, like, I know we have like fencing projects or things that are small dollar projects that the schools are allowed to do certain things. They can use Opportunity Caddo people without a bid process also, from what I understand. But you can document and keep documentation as to how that project, how it works, you know, how it does work. There is an advantage as far as, you know, when I say, if Ms. White has a contract that's going out and a general contractor's bidding on it, and we require that they submit information out to the small contractor, economic disadvantage, the contractors that are actually on there, okay? They submit it out there. It goes out to all of those people, all the ones that do that type of work that they're soliciting. what happens is that, first of all, they may find somebody that they didn't know was in existence that could do the type of work that they wanted to do. That's, theoretically, that's what you're doing, is saying, we got local folks that can do this work, that you can give them an opportunity. You send out all the sheets and get back, I'll bid this, bid that, whatever. You're giving them an opportunity to try to do some work with Caddo Parish school system. Okay, that helps build them their capacity also. But the other part is this, is that contractor also gets to find a different person than what he was using before. He didn't know it existed, okay? Now, I know I'm talking, this is actually, globally what the intent was when we were doing this type of work back then, economic development, the intent was to try to get information out there. What I said earlier, though, was about that if you put in the contract that they must send out letters out to those that are on your list. If they fail to do that, they're disqualified. Okay, that means they were not responsive to the bid. Okay, so it forces them to at least send a letter out to somebody that may be able to do the type of work that we need done. Okay, so there is an advantage to that. Whether it works or not, I can't say that it works, but that certainly was a mechanism by which, during the bid process, if the contractor knows that you could be non-responsive because you failed to solicit, then of course, that means they may not get the job, okay, just because of that.
Attorney Brown and then Board Member Umlin. You all, excuse my ignorance, but I thought Opportunity Caddo was for folks in Caddo first. And that is a part of, and I'm willing to say that because ultimately I thought it was a program designed primarily to help folks in Caddo.
No,
And it makes sense that Louisiana would be also included.
it's because it was Caddo Parish School.
Yeah, it's a catchy name. I say this also that if there's no advantage, then probably we should look at changing it because opportunity means, it's creating something, but go ahead.
And I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Abrams, the statutes that we should look at. I started looking at 38 this morning. Is that 38, 39?
Right.
In any others? Is that?
It's where they all located in those.
All right. And I think you mentioned earlier, there's a process to disqualify a business.
Yeah, and it's not easy.
All right.
We've had people that ended up in federal court when you were over there that actually got convicted and you still ended up having to go through the process,
All right. And where is that codified?
It's in the statute also.
Statute.
Yeah, it's within, it's a very big statute.
And I'm just curious, I'm like Dr. Vincent, excuse my ignorance. There's the old adage, they fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if past performance sometimes comes into play with disqualifying these.
I think Mr. White probably can talk more about that, but past performance, can be a factor, but generally you have to do the disqualification process has changed. So I would have to look back at it. It has, you have to be disqualified. It's either you just got disqualified. We have people that go in, actually, the issue I was thinking about, they changed company names on you. When you start doing you use a contractor that was named such and such one time, then they got another one under their son, but they all did the same type of work and they all bid, and then you end up, they can play games with that, so the company names change on you, So it's disqualifying is very hard to do. There's no doubt, it's a difficult thing, but that is, so I would say normally you're going to accept that bid. Okay, that's your normal. It's not to disqualify anyone. That is a hard thing to do, is disqualify. We end up getting sued over that one more than anything else.
Yeah, if I have a contract with the school board to bake oatmeal pies, and I bake them and they come out feeling like ginger snaps. And then I get mad when I don't get the next contract. I mean, I just wanted that. does that come into play? But
Well, probably that
if I
it
qualify-
wouldn't qualify under the bid laws anyway, probably, because,
You could choose those without having.
Yeah,
to
you don't
go
have to go through
that
bid
state process.
right.
Yeah, I mean, because of the low
Right.
dollar amount.
Well, because it's, it's a services contract.
Okay, all right. And thirdly, and I'll shut up, Dr. Vincent. Who does the public relations now for the school board?
Mary Wood, who's our director of communications.
And is she, sometimes with this whole thing, it may be a messaging piece to the business community in terms of people not bidding, people not responding when bids are solicited, people not understanding, certain businesses not understanding the whole process. And I was just wondering if the school system's public relations department or whoever involved in government affairs, whatever, is gonna be part of this process. Maybe not on the committee, but just kind of in the room, or somebody we can even liaison with during our service on this committee. I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually, you hit it on the head, that I've actually had contractors tell me that they didn't want the big contracts, okay? And that they felt that they get challenged, or people go and try to destroy when they put equipment out on the at school sites or whatever, just because they know they got the bid and they know who they are, and they will go out and tear up some of their work. That has happened before. High quality, very high quality contractor that happens to. So some of them want to stay below a certain threshold and not get the big project. They would rather have a small one and do the work rather than, having to bid a big project and getting it, and then people can get mad and try to hurt them,
It's a good point to make, because that's one of the challenges that we've heard before about these larger contracts, and how can you break them up so that they are smaller to have more opportunities for local contractors to participate, because they don't want the large ones.
Yeah. And that is something that we had opportunity, they had done smaller contracts, from what I understand.
Okay, Mr. Tolman?
Thank you, Dr. Vincent. What I would like to hear a little bit of elaboration from Ms. Flowers on this issue, because I understand that she is surrounded with professionals in this area of expertise, and she has been in this business for probably more than 8 years. And when you do elaborate on this and kind of fill in a lot of these gaps, it seems like something comes to my memory about bidding out, and we could have boundaries on a bid. I'm not sure about that. I've been out of this business for such a long time. So I want to turn it over to you, and kind of, you should have the most up-to-date stuff, and you should have a directory of people who are going to qualify for what we're trying to do.
Well, actually, Ms. Scott's going to have the most up-to-date information. My role as the director of the Northwest Louisiana Apex Accelerator is my staff and I assist vendors who want certifications and registrations at the local level, the regional level, the state level, and the federal level. So we help them with those registrations so that they're comfortable with the process. A lot of times a vendor is very good at their job, running their business, but they're uncomfortable going through the registration process. We hold their hand and walk them through it. I worked with 2 clients yesterday that needed registrations. I actually completed the registrations for them with them sitting there proofreading and making sure everything was accurate. Me asking them questions because that's unfamiliar to them, and then talking to them about certifications. One of them was already a Caddo Parish School Board vendor, but was not an opportunity Caddo vendor. So I talked to him about advantages of getting that additional certification, and we completed the paperwork so that he could submit. The other one didn't know about either one, and now they're turning in their applications. But I also helped them with the City of Shreveport registration as a vendor, the City of Shreveport Fair Share application, and then the system for award management for federal government. So what we do is help them with the process. If they find a bid that they're interested in going after, we'll walk them through it. We can't complete it for them because we don't know their business like they do, but we can help them determine the go, no-go determinations so they can make an informed decision about whether it's a good move for their business and would offer an economic advantage for them. Sometimes the best bid is the one you don't do, because you could go under if you underbid and then you lose profit in your business. So we walk them through how to read and understand and respond to that. If they get a bid and they run into issues, for example, I had one that got a Department of Defense bid and they were very excited about it. It was their first one. But when they got into it, they didn't understand the packaging requirements. So we walked them through the packaging requirements so they could be in compliance as they fulfilled their obligation as the selected vendor.
No,
Is your office notified or do you get notifications when Caddo School Board bids something out? Do you get
We
it?
know how
No.
to find those opportunities and we share that information with our clients, but we don't get an email notice. Just like with the city, we know where to look for their bids. And at the federal level, we have a system that pulls those bids for us.
there's another negative to the program. A lot of people don't want to be called economically disadvantaged. I've never applied for it. And I know a lot of people think, and I've heard that from other that say they don't want to be considered economically disadvantaged in order to be a part of your program. And so that in and of itself, I always be concerned that you got to be economically disadvantaged in order for somebody to consider you in order to send some information out to you too, But that's a part of our process and it does follow what's in the state program also,
Can I follow up one question that wasn't answered? And I mentioned boundaries. Can somebody elaborate on what type of contracts that we can put boundary limits on?
When you say boundary, what do you mean boundary?
Geographical.
Yeah.
Be a Miss Scott
Yeah.
kind of question, I would think.
If you're doing a bid, there are no boundaries. It's sent out to anybody in the nation.
Well,
Or
we
internet.
just talked about a program that there were boundaries for these types of folks that would bid out within our boundaries just a few minutes ago, and I didn't write it down, but
You're talking about as far as items that are not bid, that are not sent out for bid. Under the bid threshold, those
Gotcha.
wouldn't require a boundary.
I got you. The ones that don't bid, we can
Right.
do boundaries. Okay,
Good.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Superintendent had a question and then Attorney Brown.
Okay, thank you. And
Statement.
thank you, Dr. Benson. I think it is important to go back to Dr. Pierce's question around, I'd like Ms. Scott to address that. What are some of the challenges that a lot of our opportunity Caddo vendors have communicated to you? What are the requests, the challenges that they bring? And then the second part, would you mind, I have Rebecca ready to pull up our purchasing website and where the public can go to our website and see all of this information. If you'd like to provide them an overview of that, but address Dr. Pierre's question regarding the challenges.
Okay, when I have spoken with vendors during outreach opportunities, a lot of them they don't have the information and they don't know where to go to get the resources that they need. They may have a business that offers, say, for instance, a educational service and they want to get in contact with Caddo, but they just don't know who to contact. So a lot of times it's like, for me, it's giving out information as far as trying to make those connections. Then there are resources where they have business and they don't know who to contact as far as how do I go in about get information about registering, how do I complete the registration information? Once I am awarded a bid, how do I go about or I see a bid that I would like to apply for, how do I go about completing that? Well, those type of vendors, I try to refer them to the Northwest Louisiana Apex, which Dr. Flowers oversees. Because in my profession, I can't assist them completing a bid, but I can refer them to organizations that can help them. Other things or issues is that, I've completed the registration forms and nobody's contacted me. Well, completing the registration doesn't guarantee you any business. You still have to do the groundwork. You have to network. You have to get out and make yourself, brand your business, make people aware that you're here. So you do have some work and responsibility that you have to do as well. I can't be biased and tell somebody that they need to use this particular vendor, but if someone contacts me and says, we're looking for particular products, I can say, well, in our database, these are the vendors that we have. You can contact them to see if they can offer you quotes or things like that.
And can you share also the information that's on the screen?
Sure. So this is the Opportunity Caddo website, and here, the first tab under the Opportunity Caddo documents is a certification application. This is for anyone that would like to be certified to become a OCP vendor. They can complete this certification application, and along with the requirements, it lists the requirements, the eligibility information is right under that as far as the program eligibility. There is an affidavit that must be completed and it has to be notarized. That information is there as well. The OCP registered businesses that we currently have on file is listed there. And then there is a tab that says Procurement 101, and it just explains the process of how we do business in Caddo as far as our process of bidding, and the procurement process itself. It's just a basic overview for them to get a better understanding.
And then what ways do you do face-to-face training or have meetings where this information is presented in more detail?
I have been to several events that Dr. Flowers has actually hosted for her vendors. I go there. I've been to, they didn't do one this year, but last year we went there. I also go to the City of Shreveport's Fair Share program event that they have, and they actually have one tonight, so I'll be in attendance there. I've spoken at the conference that Dr. Flowers was the host of, also to just go over our process, explain how the procurement process for the Caddo Parish School Board works. And anybody that contacts me, I try to explain to them, our process and our procedure, even if it's a phone call. I know there have been some board members that have referred vendors to me, and I've spoken with them over the phone to give them the same information. I try to make everything accessible on our actual website. Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind going to the purchasing website itself. And if you scroll down, there is a section, and it has the vendor registration. Keep going down a little bit further. And this is where any vendor can access our vendor registration form. And those three forms there, the vendor registration form, the W-9, and the debarment clause, those are all required. That's our complete packet. They can access it there. It also gives them instructions on how to return that. If you see, click here to view purchasing bids, that's where we post our purchasing bids on our website. We also post our bids on, we have a bid that's currently posted there, and it actually closed, but I leave them up until they're actually go before the board to be awarded. So it will always stay open past the closing date. And so you're able to see those bids. You can pull them up from your computer. And we also have the child nutrition bids posted there, as well as capital projects bids are posted, and they all have their individual sections.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
You're welcome.
Well, Ms. Flowers and Dr. Pierre, I want us to, I want to say this real quick, and hopefully I'll be out of you all's way. I want us to ensure, if we can, the mission of what we're trying to do, if it's possible, is to again have some borders, if it's possible. So I want us to be thinking that, because ultimately we're going to try to transfer our words to policy, because without it being in black and white, then it's just we're going to be saying the same thing for the next 10 years. And so I want us to think about how do we put borders, if possible, legally, to ensure that we can keep money in Caddo. So that's our mission. I think, or at least my opinion is that Ms. Scott should do a great job. I refer people, everybody refers them. You get it done, right? But, I don't know if our mission has been to keep the money in Caddo. And so I want us to go in with that in mind to see how can we transfer that into a policy that helps us to do that, because from what I'm hearing, subs are being cut out. Now, how they're being cut out, I don't really know. Meaning, and Mr. Abrams may have touched on it. If we don't say just because you send something out, an advertisement to a sub, and that checks your box, then I don't know if that's good enough, if that makes sense. Just sending out, saying an email saying, hey, I got this bid, send me how much it's gonna cost you to do the work, and I just go with someone else that's in Timbuktu, then, that goal wasn't met. So I just wanted to say that so we can just hone our thoughts in to say, how do we create a policy to create the borders, if that's possible?
And of course, yes, if that's possible, that's the issue. And that is, we can't violate the law in order with our policy. So we'll have to definitely square that up, make sure that. Also recognize that when you start limiting to borders also, you could be hampering your ability to actually do whatever project that you're talking about doing too, if you can't get a contractor from inside of Caddo Parish.
Okay, Dr. Flowers, Dr. Peter.
I just wanted to respond a little bit to Board Member Umling's question about opportunities that are under threshold. One of the things that we do is help our clients develop what's called a capabilities statement. And that is kind of a one-page document that summarizes what they have to offer, the registrations and certifications that they have. And then we teach them about direct marketing. And that's where they're going to get those opportunities that are under the threshold amount. And we help them make connections in our area. Marketing to the government is similar, but very different than marketing commercially. And that's what they're typically used to. So we do spend a good bit of time with training that we provide, that's virtual training, in-person training, and then one-on-one counseling to help them understand how to go after those opportunities that are under the threshold, not only with the school board, but with Barksdale and other government agencies in our area. And some of those have bid lists that they get on that bid list. Some of them have just that direct marketing, and you need to know who to contact. But I keep a pretty extensive list of the people they would make contact with. And then it's up to them to follow through. We can provide information and encourage them and teach them, but then ultimately they have to take the initiative to follow through, and that can be intimidating. And that's where our in-person meet and greets help. We have every other year a large event, and every year we have an event, except this year during the furlough, we had to cancel, but we will have another one next fall.
A question, I guess summing this up, our issue is we're not getting the information out there in a big enough fashion maybe. And it sounds to me, and I know because I've seen this stuff, I deal with every government except for Caddo School Board. So, and I get all of these emails from everything. And it seems like then possibly we should make a little bit more effort to notify you so that you can send it out with your database of these bids are out there for the taking, which might be a way to broaden our horizons just a little bit.
Dr. Peter.
I'd like to take a little bit more of a broader approach. Policies are great, but if we create policies that we can't operationalize, then there are continued challenges, because this is a conversation that we've been having since I've been in this business for more than 40 years. I think that we need to look at how do we even expand the base and building that base, and look at opportunities and advantages for local economic focuses toward potential for local targeted outreach, as well as simplified or streamlined processes for certain procurement processes. And so I just wanted to add that in there, because I think it's more than just about building policy. When you're looking at the policy, you've got to be able to operationalize it so that you have metrics that you're able to actually attain. So just wanted to add that too.
Board Member Bell.
Okay, and I agree with you on that policy deal. Because you don't need to limit a policy to a certain thing. But what I'm going to say, and like I said, I can't build nothing. And I can't cook nothing. Them cookies, like you said, I can't cook, like I said. But my problem is this, when you say it.
Don't build.
Please don't be on. My problem is this qualification. Now, and the reason I'm saying this, and I'm glad we're having this,
You said disqualification?
yeah, when you disqualify.
Well, we hadn't really,
contract.
I don't think we've ever disqualified anyone yet.
Let me tell you something. Okay, the reason,
Have we, no.
no, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that a person, if you know, okay, we have a person that have done work for the Caddo school system. And they did not do the right thing, okay? And that person wanna come back under a new name, or come back to do the thing and then do it right, okay? This is what I'm saying. There are certain things that we need to do. And I was targeted by one of these persons a couple of years ago, which I can handle my own deal, okay? But the person came to me and found out that this person was disqualified because he did not do what he was supposed to do. He had a contract with Caddo, and everybody know that. But when the time came and everything was over, the stuff started falling apart, almost hurt somebody, and want to come back later on, and then got upset, said we don't do this. So I'm just saying that, do we have a law that we can disqualify people that have done work, or either we know done work outside and other that we can do? And not come back, and target, because you're a board member, which I don't, like I said, that'd be able to handle herself. But I was targeted because of the fact that, minorities and all of that do, and when, like she talked about policies, if we gonna limit the policies to just do the Caddo, and you don't have that person that do the right thing, you can limit yourself, and you cannot do, you might have to go outside. Do that make sense? So I'm just saying, do we have a policy that we can disqualify people? And I could ask that question.
Well, state law allows it, as far as being able to do it. Mr. White, have we had anyone that we actually were able to disqualify?
In 26 years I've been here, we have not officially disqualified anyone.
Okay.
There have been people who were invited to do jobs, small jobs, or wanted to do small jobs. A particular contractor got one 80% finished and then walked off the job. And Caddo Parish School Board had to go in and finish the job to get it open to allow children to come for the beginning of school. I have not asked that contractor to come back and do any other work for us.
Right.
Thank you.
So it's a sort of disqualification, but it's not going in and saying you can't bid on it.
Official disqualification, as Mr. Abrams stated, that is extremely complicated to get it done, and all they have to do is change the name of their LLC and you start all over again.
Right.
It is my understanding.
But I guess she's saying, what if that contractor comes back and bids?
That's what I'm saying.
I have no control over that.
But who would have control?
In state law,
They need qualifications, they have to go through a recruitment process. Yeah, you can't do
Investigation
that.
is-
38, 22, 12.
Name
You get that.
individual that owns the company, then you have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
So you could disqualify, whether they change their name or not. If it's the same
We have
individual,
one actually
a
gone to
owner
jail.
of that company.
What?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask
She
you,
was okay.
let me ask you all this. Let me ask you all this, and then Dr. Jackson, you're up next.
Skipped all over him.
I guess the question is,
Just my tongue.
to the committee is how can we keep, in my mind, I want to keep circling back to this. How can we keep more money in Caddo? That's the charge to the committee. How can we do it? Instead of talking about how we can't, and that may be an answer, but how can we do that? And how can we make Opportunity Caddo better in regards to giving folks an when I say an opportunity, a better opportunity in the scaling of it, because it's just ironic to me that you get on this program and it gives you no advantage. I mean, it's just kind of an oxymoron to me, in my mind, to say that on this program, but it doesn't give you any real benefit of being on the program. Hold on one second, Dr. Jackson, and then, so keep in mind, please, you all, how can we do it? Because that's what, and I think we're all on the same page or wavelength in thinking that, because we want to try to keep, cattle first, right? So how can we do that? So try to hone in our thinking of how we create some type of matrix, policy, and sustainable system that we can implement. Dr. Jackson, and then I think Attorney Brown.
Good morning. I'm apologize in advance. I'm hoarse. But I was kind of wanted to be sure I understood the framework of what we were getting together for what this committee was about, because the last time we were talking about getting together, we kind of talked about the future. And it seems to me that you've done a lot to talk about what's happened in the past and explain the program. I suspect the program was working, we wouldn't have this committee. And so I think one of the things that have to be on the table is if it's not working, why do we still have it? And if it doesn't, if it's called Opportunity Caddo, I think the question is now is that Caddo may be a misnomer because it's really for anybody in Louisiana, let's say, right? But I think the bigger misnomer may be opportunity, because I'm not sure that it's saying that it's to create opportunity. So what you're looking for may not be the fault of the program. It may be that's not what the program was ever about. Because if in fact, what is happening is not, you use the term advantage, and it's clear that the program wasn't designed for anybody's advantage. Probably because somebody said, maybe demanded something that other folk were doing. They put this together and say, this is our form of that, that same kind of nothing. In other words, at least we have to have something on record that says we're doing something and it's on paper. But, so I asked at one time we talked about it before, do we have models of people who we say would be the picture for Opportunity Caddo? Who are the 10 people who you would say, boy, because they were with Opportunity Caddo, look at what's happening with them, right? And if you don't have those models, then that may be why nobody wants to be a part of it. And if it's more stigmatized than it is promoted as something that's positive, where people can see, because at the end of the day, business people, if you're not in the business of making money, then you probably ought not be in business, right? And so at the end of the day, my question is that. Now, what we haven't talked about is, I asked a couple questions, and I thought that when we were going to come, we were talking about whether or not we looked at the history of where we were and where we are now and how we do equity-centered programming if we're going to do anything. Because I heard you talk about location, and I'm for local, right? For Caddo. We don't get taxes from Baton Rouge and all over the state. We don't get students from all over the state. We get students from Caddo. We get taxes from Caddo. And what's wrong with keeping the money that comes from the taxpayers of Caddo in Caddo, right? He talked about the economic multiplier effect. Quite frankly, can be as big as 4 if we were intentional about that in Caddo. I go to meetings all the time, and you'll pack the room when you talk about how to improve our community and what we got to do about violence and crime. And that's the side of a coin that we never flip, because on the other side of that coin is poverty. And if we don't do anything about that part of the coin, and we keep on having meetings, you'll find, I suspect, y'all got grants from all over, from the federal government. We're trying to do something about violence and crime and crime prevention and SRO officers at every school. We got SRO officers at every school, but do we have entrepreneurial classes at every school? Teach people how to not need Opportunity Caddo to go get into these things, So at the end of the day, we talk about one side of the coin. We're not talking about the other side of the coin.
Well,
We're
but
not going to change things if we only take a one-sided approach. So this leads me back to Opportunity Caddo. Part of the reason why we don't have the number of people that we have and why the program perhaps does not do what you may be expected to do is because we don't have a history of preparing people to be able to have the capacity to do this kind of business, So to have the program without having, let's say, technical assistance or another program to try to wrap around to help folks do those things, and it's not going to be, we can do this and comply with what might comfort those who are in place, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything. And for me, well, I appreciate Reginald and the superintendent. Their jobs are execution. People who get elected, your jobs are policy making, right? Not to babysit policy that hadn't worked, but to have the kind of courage to do things that people have to take you to court for because you're trying. Instead, we'd rather be comfortable saying, well, you know, it's against, we can't do it, it's not the law. Well, you have the responsibility to make the law. That's what they have state representatives for us, we have congressmen for us. The law is not something, that law that exists right now is not something that's immutable. It just takes somebody to get started and have a conversation about how you do it. If you're not gonna do that, to come down here and examine the leaves of a tree and don't do anything about the roots is a waste of time. In my opinion.
May I reply?
Yeah, yes, and then Dr. Pierre and, board members, you all can decide whoever goes first.
Yeah, well, thank you for stating that. I just wanted to emphasize the fact that the coin has been flipped with ensuring that all students, regardless of where they are in their zip code, are aware of the opportunities that are there. We have not only emphasized workforce development, but we've changed the whole framework of how we are educating kids about what is available for them. As far as entrepreneurship, we have moved students, our faculty members into those schools, and that's their only job. We have just completed a career compass survey where every student in high school completed that survey. And then I met with staff saying, here are the things that our students are interested in, but yet here are the courses that we're offering. If there's a disconnect there, that's our fault. And so we then have adjusted, ensuring that we're bringing in those courses that are aligned to what kids' passions are. And then on top of that, we want to make sure that those passions are aligned to jobs that are going to be high-paying jobs. Ms. Bell has been on me since day 14 months ago around the fact, ensuring that we've got to increase the percentage of students in many times our most highest poverty areas in participating at the Career Center, because there's the stigma attached to it. There's also a confusion around there's a GPA requirement. So we've attacked that. We've created the J.S. Clark Career Academy just for that benefit of ensuring that those kids at the middle school level know what's available to them. And then lastly, every single middle schooler now, regardless if they want to or not, must go on a tour of the Career Center so that they see not only we've got a college-bound track, we also have a military opportunity that's available to us, but we also have workforce development that doesn't require a four-year degree. So we are encouraging all of those areas. So we have, as far as 14 months ago, flipped that coin to ensure we're attacking that, because it's around awareness and exposure and opportunities. So thank you for bringing that up, and we're aware of it and we are attacking it.
So Kate, when at some point, we produce something that A, says that to people, taxpayers, those of us who are concerned about that, B, then have some data to suggest that while it's offered, the question becomes, what are the outcomes, right? Because it'd be great effort, what are the outcomes? And so very interesting, it just started, so you won't have any data yet, other than what's available. But certainly interested in, you know, somewhere up the road, putting in a metric, something in place to where when the community gets a report, it also undergirds the economic development of the community with the things you talk about. But we need to have some metrics in place that go beyond board members and quite frankly, the administration, years, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, so we can know that programs did in fact make some impact.
I just want to talk about data. He's already hit it, so I'm good.
Board members?
Okay, I'll be quick. I have just one, and I guess this is FYI, so to speak, but we're going to have a career center that's going to be built. We have the construction that is started at Donnie Bickle, and we have a person sitting in this room that is on the sales and use tax committee. And all of these out-of-town contractors that come in here and bring stuff in, and they're not getting audited for that sales tax for Caddo. And I say that just so that you can bring that issue up. These big projects, the use tax on things that they bring in and use that they bought somewhere else and they leave it here. And we're missing, and because we want to keep our money in Caddo, I'm sure Caddo wants what is theirs. And I'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
I guess I need to point out that this policy opportunity catalog sort of concerns whether it did or was not working. I realized and I looked at the date on it. I was the chairman of the chamber back when this was adopted back during that time. This policy was created as a result of the state declaring all those set-asides unconstitutional. This was the best we could do in order to try to make sure that minorities and small businesses were able to have, some type of businesses and be looking out for them and trying to create that. That's the reason this policy exists. That's fair share part at the city. The parish had it also. We went in and created one just like it. And yes, it was just a whole lot different, and the goal has been to try to make it, work. So that's the bottom line of it. This was what happened as a result of the state law changes, and that's what we got.
Board Member Rochelle, you up there? Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm keying you up.
Okay,
Hold on 1 second, please.
Okay.
Please, in our conversations, someone give us a suggestion that how do we keep money in the borders? I want us to think about that, because ultimately, and if that isn't possible, Vincent need to move that out of his mind, and just give up. And in addition to that, I want to kind of stick it there and not pile on too much gravy. Is that possible?
I think that's premature right now. I'm gonna be very honest with you.
Possible with the currents.
Right, with the current framework that you have, clearly it is not. But when we begin to have these discussions and talk about policy that would be able to operate in today's time, in 2025, we're looking at policy that was created in 2004. And so having a recommendation in this first meeting, I believe, is premature.
No, not a
Okay.
recommendation. I just want to make sure our minds are
Yeah.
kind of centered.
Yeah, I
on-
think we should have some type of local economic focus if we can, but we're gonna have to talk about that a little bit more and do some research and what works in other areas.
Board Member Rochelle?
Okay, I'm looking for what my walkaway is, and I think we have a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts that have come to the table. And as I started in the very beginning, I believe we're looking at two separate things. The opportunity Caddo is one. Okay, that's one tool that we have in the toolbox. Whether or not it works as well as we want to or not, obviously it sounds like it may not work as well as what we want to. So we need to figure that out. But that is for growth and development of local businesses as much as possible local. Okay, but it doesn't take away the fact that there are other companies or vendors that would qualify that don't, they're not located in Caddo, okay? So that's where the other part comes into and that's really what I thought this was about is what do we do to have local businesses? Because there truly is, and we've got plenty of universities here that the professors can go give the project to their students and go, you give to us, okay? Here's your project. Put together the economic impact study on this. Put together the multiplier of this, because that's where, and maybe this is where things can change at the state. Obviously, we don't make state laws here or statutes or anything. However, that may be something that we can work to accomplish of going, well, yeah, we want what we do to have a local impact for growth and development. And I think if we have those guidelines in there of going, well, what can we do to try to keep that local growth and development? That's where they can change the laws. We can't. I don't know how they can.
I understand what you're saying. Also, you think about the fact that what if other cities did the same thing we're talking about doing to them? that's where your problem comes in. That's the reason why you don't see what we're talking about. And that is that you make yourself a silo. And then they say, well, we don't want to use any of your folks either. And so now you've got just, you're hemmed in a box because you can't work outside of your own city because of, you want to use, keep everything within.
Well, and so and you know what, and that's, everybody has to make those decisions for each of their own businesses, for whatever profession that it is. Yeah, do you want to do, practice law in Abbeville? Do you go down there and solicit business in Abbeville? No. Well, that was the right answer, by the way. And just going at this, and I pointed this out to Mr. Umling, is there's just a little bitty paragraph here. It says what the intent of this policy is. It says what it is. And it gives I don't know if you drafted this one. I remember approving this. Okay. But it's worded very well of what the intent of it is. And and just like any business or any work, there's always tweaking, there always is adjustment, there's always movement. And some of it is we have control over, and some of it we don't. If it comes crammed down from the state as a mandate, we have to follow it. But that's, I'm just trying to get what my walkaway is, and my walkaway is that we have two items here, is my opinion.
So I think one of the things that has always happened, and local government has always, should have always, and I think I paid attention to it at different levels, is that this notion of preemption. It's always preemption, that we do things in Caddo, but in the state of Louisiana, no, you can't do that. But the state of Louisiana doesn't know what's best for Caddo. So we say that. So my question becomes is when we get serious about these things, you have to understand it takes just some fundamental courage to say to our state legislators, this is what we want. We want the state to take his hand off of this local government. I mean, you know, as a country, we believe in the state's rights, right? As a state, we ought to believe in the parish or the city's rights as well, ought to be equally as important to us. And what happens is it's just a game that's been played forever. You bake it in the cake. And then you give an excuse to people locally that why they can't do it. Because, oh, the state gonna get, yes, you're exactly right. States will come back and mandate something that they may not even be paying for, quite frankly, and mandate it. So it's take courage to at least go and say, we're trying. Here's a resolution promoting, you know, more control at a local level, whatever. We did, and I'm only saying this because I worked with a group who did this for 8 years before we got any progress in industrial tax exemptions. And you were being impacted directly by that right here. And I never saw any policymakers there with us fighting to be sure that you had local control. So in 2015, from 2015 on until probably now, you had at least some say about who was going to not pay their taxes to come to this school. So much of that money, $589 million was being exempted, you know, right here in Caddo, things that could have helped this district. And so a lot of times I think the policymakers, those folks at this level, you got to be involved in what's happening at the level above you as well, because they are preempting opportunities and things that ought to be happening at this level that sometimes tie your hands. And then you got to look and say, well, the state is doing such and such. So I wanted to say that I think there are things that are possible, things that can be done, but you have to have the kind of courage necessary to know that it's beyond just what happens at this level, because the state does so much at that at the level the way we're set up now. And I submitted to Board Member Vincent my 5 questions, and he talked about takeaways. And so I just was interested in, do we currently collect and report vendor participation data by race, gender, and parish geography? Secondly, what are known policy barriers for local and minority-owned firms? Because the paragraph that Board Member Rochelle pointed to speaks very specifically to eliminating barriers. Have you identified? I mean, what are they? Thirdly, are we open to equity-centered procurement models? And fourthly, how can we provide technical assistance to new or smaller vendors? And finally, number 5, will this committee establish measurable benchmarks and accountability timelines? So those are the things that would help me as I leave today. And, I'll tell you, Mr. Burton, and then to, President Green, I like to tell folks all the time that if it's something that's a policy that's questionable, it's working, I don't feel comfortable doing it. I always ask to just answer one question. If your job depended on this being successful, what would you do differently? Just everybody, you know what I'm saying? Because that may get you closer to some solutions that people weren't thinking of before, the lack of creative, oil, lubricant may be gone. But if you said that, if your job literally depended on this being successful, what would we do differently?
Yeah, board member, President Green, and then Attorney Abrams, if you don't need to interject first.
It was just one comment. Actually, the main issue, I think, one, we don't know how well Opportunity Caddo is working because we hadn't had reports in quite some time. And I think if we just get reports showing that how great it was doing or not doing, but when you don't have reports as to what you're saying, what is it doing, we don't know whether to throw the baby out the bathwater or not. So, I think there's certainly some data that we could collect as to what has happened over the last several years or whatever, because we used to get data, that show what was going on in the program itself.
Yeah, because the benchmark could be 25% of whatever we do or something versus the number system that we put that benchmark in there maybe with Opportunity Caddo. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not gonna keep you long. I'm getting antsy. I'm sure everybody else has something else to do, so we probably need to start closing this meeting here soon. But just want to thank everybody for coming. And also the reason I created this ad hoc committee was so these ideas could come to the table. So like Dr. Jackson said, so we can leave here with something and something can be adjusted. Just like Dr. Pierre said, we have something now to work with. We have a base to work with. So I think this is something we can grow. Of course, we can't handle it all today. All the questions can't be answered today. So if we have questions, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and submit them to Dr. Vincent. He gets them to the right person who they need to go to. We come back, we'll have something to build on. Because I want solutions by the time this committee ends. I don't want to just talk in circles. One thing that I get tired of is when I see contractors out and in Sam's or Walmart or wherever. Well, I don't like the way Caddo is handling business with Fair Share. I don't like this. I don't like that. Something has to give here. Something has to give, whether it's policy, like Dr. Jackson said, go to the state level. Whatever it is, we need some kind of answers and solutions here when it comes to how we do business with our vendors. And that's the reason I started the ad hoc committee with you, Dr. Benson. Hopefully this can take off. But I'm going to turn it back over to you and hopefully we can get this thing moving. People have other things to do and this is just the start. Of course, we're going to have another meeting. We can't finish it all today.
Final comments before we go to our visitor section.
I have a question for Reggie. Are these meetings going to be live streamed?
It is right now.
I know it is right now, but like when it's just them and their committee, it will be live streamed?
Yes, the committee, this is an official committee of the Caddo Parish School.
And then when they submit comments or questions to Dr. Vincent and he submits it to staff for review or answers, will that response go to all the board members?
That's president's call.
I don't see a problem with it. I mean, I don't.
We need to all be informed anyway. Up front.
Right.
You mean committee members or board? You say board members?
Board members.
Oh.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, they're the ones that's going to approve the policy that you bring.
Yeah,
So can I just make a statement? Typically, what happens in these ad hoc committees and the structure normally is we work amongst ourselves and then there's a report that comes out of the work that we've done that goes to the board members to talk about what has come out of it. Because some things that we talk about aren't going anywhere. And so our job is to make the best recommendation from everything that's been put on the table to make a recommendation to the school board of what needs to happen. That's my understanding of how the ad hoc committees work. as opposed to every single thing that we say and do gets sent out to the board members.
So it's live streamed anyway,
Well,
right?
that's not a concern. I'm just saying what goes out, because we're gonna talk about a number of things that everybody can watch. But what we recommend is what goes to the board.
Any other final comments, questions? Okay, again, you all, thank you so very much. I just want to say this, thank you so much for coming. I think we all passionate, the passion is growing too, about this from all over the parish. This is the visit, we'll move on to, item 2.5, the visitor section. The Caddo Parish School Board welcomes your input and comments regarding items that are on the committee meeting agenda. If you would like to speak regarding an item on today's committee meeting agenda, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make your remarks to the entire committee. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. A time clock will be provided. Okay. For your help to be aware of your time, when your time runs out, your time is up. About 30 seconds before your time is up, we'll raise our hand because there's no time clock here. It is the board's policy not to respond individually to members of the audience. When appropriate, the board may refer concerns to staff to be addressed. As this is a public meeting, we ask you to refrain from referring to personnel by name or incident. In accordance to school board policy, derogatory statements about or directed at a school board member or committee member, any employee, or any other person shall not be allowed. All right, yes, ma'am. Ms. Glover?
Good morning.
Morning. Yes, you.
I want to stay seated because I'm still recovering from my knee surgery.
Oh.
So I ask you to forgive me for that. But John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, apartment 217, Shreveport, Louisiana, zip code 71118. I want to thank you all, number one, for bringing this meeting together, because me, a citizen, had no idea of why this committee was being formed or formulated. I have learned a lot. I have heard instances of what your intent and purpose is to be addressing. At the same time, I've heard some veering away from what you all are intending to present at that time with regards to how this ad hoc and what it will address. I just need to understand that are these meetings going to be directed solely to the procurement and Caddo opportunity Caddo, or are we going to hear veering into we're setting children up to be whatever, because that was not seemingly the intent and purpose of this meeting. So if I could get some clarity of what it is that you all will actually focus on without bringing anything that does not have anything to do with this ad hoc committee meeting, then I'd like to know. I mean, because the comments were great, but then there were some comments that had nothing to do with. I mean, you made a statement and I really appreciated what you said, but then I heard another statement that went away from what you were talking about.
Yeah, you can't talk to anybody directly.
But I just talked to him directly. I called not his name. I just pointed to him and I do apologize. Okay, but at the end of the day, we need to, as citizens, understand what it is and why it is that this committee was formulated, and what it is that you will provide us as citizens that we need to know that will help us be equipped to address whatever you all decide to address via this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blow. And I'll need to refer you to staff. I'll meet with you afterwards to go over that.
Say that again, sir.
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Alfonso Williams, 2014 Winbrook Court, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71118.
Yes, sir.
So I as well appreciate everyone for coming here today. It was just an answered prayer for me. Speaking as a 20-year business here in Shreveport. In 20 years that I've been a general contractor in Shreveport, I've only had 2 projects with Caddo Parish School Board. I have submitted bids. I've had bids taken away from me in favor of white businesses in Bossier, when I'm a black business in Shreveport. When I do my research on these bids, and basically right now, it just comes down to courage. Like this was stated here earlier. Sometimes you have to do some things that makes them, take you to court. Because everybody's here right now because we're standing on the shoulders of somebody who's willing to go to court. You being a doctor, him being a doctor, him being an attorney. You're all standing on the shoulders right now of somebody who is willing to go to court, who's willing to be arrested to stop the inequality. Well, Caddo Parish School Board, and I'll make it a little emotional here. Please forgive me if I do, but I've been victimized by Caddo Parish School Board. And so it's gonna take courage in this entire deal, because it's not right. And you gotta get to the root of it, like we see it here. And the root may be the person that's been here for 26 years. That may be the issue. And so I think if you guys do a full investigation of where we are and how we got here, I think that's where it's gonna lead to. I have visual evidence because I have done a public request through Mary Woods. She gave me all of it. I have
Can't call a name, Mr.
Okay,
Williams.
I apologize. I did do a public records request to the Caddo Parish School Board. Went through the proper channels to acquire historical data as it relates to how the Caddo Parish School Board has done business. And right now, the disparity between one race in construction and another race in construction is probably 98% one way. And if we're talking about over the last 8 years, you got $300 million that Caddo Parish School Board has spent out. $290 million of that dollars has a one-to-one race and not the other.
Thank you, thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to say, good morning to everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Shelton Henderson. I'm with Henderson Construction, around Shreveport, 31 years. Been doing this work for like 47 years. Give us your address if you don't mind. 28 West 70th Street. And I keep it short. I've done work for Caddo Parish School Board for back in the 90s. And I've done some work for as bidding the work and was low number here 3 years ago. And after then, I got in some situations that I thought was unfair. And I did Woodlawn, which I didn't have no problem there. I did work at Fair Park, Captain Shreve in Warner Park. And that's where I had problems at. And I think it was more or less, not saying that I wasn't at fault with some of the stuff that went on, but when I think it's more or less when it came to the project manager of these jobs and the time that you have in these jobs. The hardest part of the work that I've done at school, whether it's bathroom, is the demo. That's the hardest part of that work. And you're only dealing with 60 days. I don't know who went from, when I first started doing this work for Caddo Parish back in the 90s or whatever, it was 3 months. I don't know who changed it, but, and due to the fact that we had COVID hit, it was rough on us. Just not speaking of Henderson, but all of these contractors that were doing this work. And I advise y'all, whoever on this board and whatever district that y'all are in, you need to go visit the job. And then you'll see what we'll go through on these jobs. You know, we go out and we try and we bust our behind trying to get these jobs back within 60 days. We should work as a team, and that's what it takes to do the job. A team player, and I am a team player. But to the fact that what I went through for the last 3 years, I decided that I don't want to do it some more.
Thank you, thank you. You all, our last item, it's not really an item on the agenda. I need to find out generally, what is the best date and times for us to convene? I know that's been the hardest part. I know that's a bad question. That's the hardest question of the day, but can you all, give me something to work with? Is to Tuesdays, Wednesdays, what's better in general?
On the same day we have a school board meeting.
No,
Well,
no.
Well, there's my vote. He asked me my opinion. There
My
it is.
opinion is not.
all right, how does Tuesday?
Anytime other
work?
than Tuesday.
How does Tuesday work? for
I
folks?
I say Thursday.
Okay, we got Thursday and a Tuesday up.
10 o'clock. We have a policy. we
Let,
have
what
meeting.
about time?
10 o'clock is fine.
I think 10
10 o'clock is great.
Like
isn't it?
10?
10 o'clock is good.
Now,
Yeah. 10 is good.
Tuesday, I'll tell you, all for Tuesday, raise your hand.
Which Tuesday of the month?
Of the board meeting.
Okay, yeah.
I would, because we don't wanna, one day. Give me some suggestions, you all. I know what I'm thinking, but
I
y'all.
suggest Thursday.
Board member.
That's right. The reason I said not that because we have committee meetings sometime on those days. So I suggest that 10 o'clock and on a Thursday. Other committee meetings, like I'm on the policy committee. I may call one. Anyway, like I said, I say Thursday
Okay,
at 10 o'clock.
well, I just got a wise counsel.
Based on what we passed, we should do it on Tuesdays.
Actually, what you passed was the first Tuesday of every month for policies, or for any committee meeting.
But it,
There we go. It works for me. I like the policy we passed. Let's work with it.
Yeah,
We don't vote
that's
on
probably, that's what I,
but nobody said.
first Tuesday of the month, 10 o'clock. Is that? Not,
January
Yeah,
6th.
go about policy.
Yeah, I'm not, I didn't like it to begin with.
Yeah. go about
but you all, what we'll do, I'll get with the attorney to make sure we're not violating policy. And we may end up sending out a doodle poll, just to tighten it up, because we want all hearts and minds together. Again, thank you so much. But before you jump up, I still need to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got to go.
All in favor, aye.